Good morning, primary class. This is our Tuesday lesson for our story, Staying True to God. When Demetrius talked to the silversmiths about protecting their goddess Diana, they suddenly became excited. Now, should humans have to protect a god or a goddess? I don't think so. Then they're not a very powerful god or goddess, are they? What Demetrius said quickly passed from one person to the other until the whole city was upset. Soon there was a crowd that grew larger and larger. People were angry. They thought, no god is greater than Diana. No temple is as beautiful as the temple of Diana. And they shouted, great is Diana of the Ephesians. Acts 19, verse 28. And when they heard these sayings, they were full of wrath. Wrath is anger. And cried out, saying, great is Diana of the Ephesians. People searched for Paul, and they were determined to find him, but they couldn't. He was in the place where he had been teaching. Then the mob became even more angry than ever. They grabbed two of Paul's friends who had been traveling with him, and they took them to the bigger theater in Ephesus. Verse 29. And the whole city was filled with confusion, and having caught Gaius and Aristarchus, men of Macedonia, Paul's companions in travel, they rushed with one accord into the theater. What happened to Paul? Someone had hurried to warn him about the crowd, the angry crowd, and wanted to get him. That wanted to get him. And his friends had quickly taken him to a safe place not far away. Angels were helping to keep them safe. When Paul found out what was happening to his two friends, he wanted to go and talk to the screaming mob. Did his friends let him do that? Verse 30 and 31. And when Paul would have entered into the people, the disciples suffered him not. And the certain of the chief of Asia, which were his friends, sent unto him, desiring that he would not adventure himself to the theater. So they didn't want to let him go, did they? No, not at all. The mob kept shouting. Most of them didn't even know why they were shouting. They were just part of the mob. Oftentimes that happens with a mob. Verse 32 says, some therefore cried one thing and some another, for the assembly was confused, and the more part knew not wherefore they were come together. So most of the people didn't even know why they were there. They were just there joining in the mob, weren't they? The mob kept shouting. Most of them didn't know why they were shouting. That they were just part of the mob. In verse 32. Many Jews lived in Ephesus. Paul and some of the new Christians were Jews too, but the Jews who were not Christians didn't want that angry mob to think that they liked Paul and the work that he was doing. We'll find out more tomorrow about how they tried to make sure that the people wouldn't think that. Now, here's a question. When in a crowd, do people often act like everyone else? Is that always a good idea? And what does the Bible say about that in Exodus 23, verse 2? Shall we see? Let's see here. Exodus. There we go. 23, verse 2. Thou shalt not follow the multitude to do evil, neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to wrest judgment. Oh, so what they were doing, God told us not to do.